Adam, tell me when you're ready. Good morning. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and in-person attendance limitations. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Committee members participating today are Donald Taylor, Stan Kamerick, Laura Alderson, and Sophia Ruddick, and I am Michael Clark, and I am the panel chair. We also ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we're meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, Haudenosaunee, and Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act, 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is now called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because Committee of Adjustment and the TLAB will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee rendered here today, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances, to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, and appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of every decision of the committee. The hearing procedure. We'll call each item in the order listed in the agenda. We'll deal first with some deferrals that we know of, and then we'll just go back and deal at the top of the agenda and plow through. When making your submissions, when an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with a presentation if desired. Where the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and or take the committee into the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please start off by clearly stating your name and address, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent goes first, makes their presentation to the committee. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised in order to ensure that the application is both accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Those are people who have registered in advance to speak virtually. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker at the end of their presentation, and when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent is given an opportunity, another 5 minutes, to rebut only those issues and answer those questions that have been raised by the neighbors, not to introduce new information at that time. That will then mark the end of the discussion on the application, which is then taken into committee for a decision. Okay, before we have some housekeeping matters to take care of, we have 3 sets of minutes to approve. The minutes from the hearing of May 20th, 25th, and June 3rd. Perhaps we can do one motion for all 3. Someone prepared to make a motion to approve the minutes? Mr. Taylor, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the minutes for the hearings on May 20th, May 25th, and June 3rd.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Need a seconder for that? Thank you. Ms. Alderson? Okay, all in favor? The minutes are approved. Okay. Any Are there any declarations of interest, both by panel or staff, on the matters on this morning's agenda? None to declare. Okay. Mr. Polisic, do we have any files to be closed? No? Okay. Okay, in that case, we can start with item number 1, 40 Brownville Avenue. And this is an application to legalize and maintain the existing covered porch. There are 4 variances. There's an order to comply. Councilor Nunziata is in support, and there are 4 letters of support. Registered to speak on this matter is Paul Henriquez, the owner, and as well the neighbor at 47 Brownville.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, we have 2 deferrals to deal with first. Item number 3 and 10.
Okay, let's deal the clear the deferrals first. So item number 3, 535 the East Mall. And we have a speaker on this, Musa Ayade, and this is was a convert the basement storage locker room to 6 apartment dwellings. I think the applicant has submitted a the rental declaration, and there's nothing else on that, but I believe they want to review the that declaration and wish to have it deferred. Mr. Ayade?
Yes, Mr. Chair, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, we are asking for the next available deferral to give the rental housing department review of our application. I already spoke to them and they said we should be fine for the next available hearing.
Okay, so you can contact staff. I don't know what the next available hearing may be booked, so it's the next available hearing that there's ability to put you on. So is that correct, staff? The applicant should contact to have it put on the next available agenda. Okay. Okay, and we know what the purpose of the deferral is. Can I have a motion to that effect, please?
I'm happy to make a motion for deferral until the next available meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. Seconder for that. Mr. Kumarik, thank you. All in favor? Okay, Mr. Ayade, we'll see you back here another time. Next time you can get on an agenda. Okay. And the other deferral request is item number 6. What about 6? I have a note here that Planning and Heritage are requesting a deferral. This is to extend a lawful non-conforming use. It's really not that's the only variance. And we have the request by Heritage Planning. So let's deal with number 6. Then the agent is Antonella Ferroni Wild. Only person.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Good morning. So you've seen the request from Heritage Planning?
I have. I would like to proceed today, if possible, and explain why.
Okay, so why should we deal with this? So the applicant does not wish to, so you wish to proceed. You don't agree with Heritage Planning's memo requesting that this matter be deferred?
Correct.
Yeah, can you try to speak up a little bit? I'm having trouble hearing you.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Thank you.
I don't think it should be deferred.
Okay. And the reason being?
Okay, so as you see, heritage is applicable law. So if we revise the design of this addition, it doesn't, we're not asking for any quantitative variances. So by revising the addition, it has no bearing on the notice being sent out. As you see from their memo, they also request that if you approve the variances, that it is subject to the condition of heritage approval. I spoke with the manager of plan review, and every time you submit for zoning, building, or even a revision to the building permit, a heritage folder is automatically generated. Heritage has the power to review all the way through the process. So if that's really in question, I feel like it might be a waste of city resources to defer this and come back, when in actual fact, the variances we're requesting are simple. No one has shown objection to those variances, and the condition is automatic.
Okay, so right now I see here you really don't have, I'm saying that it says the altered dwelling proposes structural alterations, extensions, a new detached garage to the lawful non-conforming use, but they don't go through and say if there's, I don't believe they do it in a non-conforming and actually say, here's the height variance, here's the side yard variance, here's this variance and that variance. So if we were to, I see that an alternative, they said if we were to approve it, and I'm going to see if the members have any opinions on this. In the report, it says if they approve it, as you just pointed out, it would be subject to their approval anyway. So it's a question of it's either before or after, but the only difference is what they're looking for is for you to make changes. They're respectfully requesting it be deferred to allow staff to work with the applicant on a revised set of drawings to achieve a design that is more compatible with the heritage property. So question for staff, if we approve it and then there's changes, even though it was subject to heritage, then it'll be a different application. Won't they have to come back then anyway, which would even be more work for staff?
No.
It would have to be a fresh application.
No. Sorry, may I interrupt?
Yes.
It wouldn't be more work for staff because no variances would be changed. There, as you see, there is no variance for height, setback, etc., and there never will be. My clients have reached out to Heritage starting in May of 2019 for their comments. Again, when we submitted for zoning in May 2021, again, they submitted another package for. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is no matter what, Heritage must review these drawings, and no matter what the changes to the drawings happen, the variances will not be affected.
Well,
Nothing will change.
but-
We're confident that we don't have to come back is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but what I'm asking staff is, if I'm correct, that when you have an extension of a lawful non-conforming use, they don't list the variances. So in other words, if you're already over for certain things on this proposed two-story rear addition, a new detached garage in your rear yard, it's not going to show, but it would change, in which case they want it approved. So I understand you've been delayed. This is a slow process. Your client wants to get on with their construction and they get their approval. But a question I reach out to Mr. Carvalino, who's participating virtually today, is whether that is correct, or whether it really should be deferred to see what changes are made, because we're not going to see variances here because it's an extension of a lawful non-conforming use. Is Mr. Carvalino with us?
He's unmuted.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you are correct, Mr. Chair. As the notice states, it is an extension to a legal non-conforming use. The variances are not identified because of its legal status, and Heritage staff is requesting the deferral so they can work with the applicant to modify the proposal so that it's more in keeping with the Heritage Act.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, Ms. Ferroni-Wild, as I can assure you, I like to keep things moving. When I see a reason for a deferral that I don't feel is merited, I state as accordingly, because the process is long. But in this case, let's hear what the members have to say. It looks like a deferral is appropriate because the variances will not be identified, and they're not even being
But
identified
they won't.
here. So
But
let's.
they won't be identified later either.
Excuse me?
So no matter what Heritage does, the variances won't be identified.
That's
So
correct. That's
what
why we need
appears
them.
But what appears before you will be identical, and therefore they still need to review it. So it's redundant.
I disagree, and Mr. Carvalino, the Secretary Treasurer, disagrees, because we're not going to see the variances, so we cannot. We need to get them normally, whether cart before the horse, but in this case, that's the way I believe it has to go, because the variances, and I'll say it for the fourth time, will not be identified. They're not identified here. They won't identify even if you go and make massive changes. So I believe that's the order we should go in. Committee members, any questions, or is someone ready for a motion?
I think the comment I would like to make is, I mean, if the applicant does not want to defer and wants us to go forward with it, I'd be willing to do that, but I would then want to put a condition and make the whole thing conditional on approval of Heritage.
Yes, Mr. Comeric, that's the alternative, but in this case, it seems appropriate to not to put the cart before the horse, because what will go to Heritage, I believe Mr. Carvalino said it would be a different application, even though we don't see the plans attached. The plans will change, so we're wasting even more time, assuming there's any changes, because the variances are not identified. So anyway, I need a motion whether to defer or whether we're going to proceed, in which case we'll put it back in the queue.
I'm in favor of the motion to defer. So I'll make a motion to defer the matter as per the request from Heritage.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ruddick. The seconder for that motion.
I'm happy to second that motion.
Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Okay, opposed? The matter is deferred 4-1. Mr. Kamarick dissenting. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Ferroni-Wild. We'll see you back here once you've dealt with Heritage. Okay, item number 10 is a deferral request, 106 Lake Promenade. It's for a detached dwelling with an attached garage with 5 variances, and planning and applicant, I believe, both wish to have this deferred for consultation. The speaker, we have 3 speakers registered, David Engelman, the agent, as well as the 2 representatives from the Long Branch Neighborhood Association. No actual neighbors registered to speak. Good morning, Mr. Engelman.
Good morning, Sir Chair and fellow committee members. Through ongoing review and consultation with City, it has been
Yeah, we're losing
today
you.
to have. Sorry?
Yeah, we are cutting out. The members who are able to hear the agent?
What was,
Hello?
hello?
No, he's cutting in and out, mostly
Can you
out.
hear me?
I can now.
Yeah, go ahead. Maybe let's try. Hopefully it will be good. So please continue.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair. We are requesting a deferral of the application to have more time to consult with city planning staff to see if their concerns can be satisfied.
Okay, thank you. Just I guess we should weigh in and hear from one member of the Long Branch Neighborhood Association, either Mr. Choles or Ms. Mercado. Is one of them available?
Yes, I'm available. Good morning.
Hello, Mr. Choles.
My name is Andy. My name is Andy Choles. I live at 12 Jasmine Avenue, member of the Long Branch Neighborhood Association. The LBNA would agree to defer this application. We hope the plans could be revised to reflect something a little more compliant with OP 320 and Long Branch character guidelines, in particular the integrated garage and its effect on the overall height. We would be very interested in seeing those revised plans at a future date.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Choles. Committee members, any questions for either Mr. Choles or Mr. Eagleman, or is someone ready for a motion?
I'll move for deferral so that the applicant can process with planning.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
I'll
Kamara.
second.
Seconded by Ms. Ruddick. All in favor? Okay, the matter is deferred. We'll see you back here once you've made some changes and consulted. Thank you. Okay, so now we can go back up to the top of the agenda and start with the first application to be heard today, 40 Brownville Avenue. And this is an application.
Hi, we're here.
Hello, this is an application to legalize and maintain the existing covered front porch. There are 4 variances. We have an order to comply. Councillor Nunziata is in support, and as well as 4 other letters of support. The applicant, the speaker on this application is Paul Henriquez, and as well the neighbor at 47 Brownville. Mr. Henriquez?
My husband and I are here. Hi there.
Hi. Committee members, do you need a presentation, or just see if, would you like to give the committee a short presentation on your application here? This is to legalize
Sure.
and maintain. So just maybe, why don't you tell us why you're here? The front covered porch was built without a permit, or what happened here?
Well, yeah, so we were originally trying to do the porch with concrete to have extra storage underneath for our basement. And then we were told we would have to go to committee of adjustments, so we figured it wouldn't have been worth it. So the old porch we had was pretty much completely needing to be done. And we did it bigger than it was to have access, for it to be easier for our son. We have a son who has cerebral palsy, and he takes a wheelchair transit to school. And when we tried to close the permit, they told us that we couldn't have done that without committee, which we didn't know.
Okay.
We had bought our new house about a year, I would say a year or two, I'm not too sure on the date, before that. So in all honesty, we didn't think we would need a permit since we weren't doing the concrete foundation underneath to have more storage in the basement. So that's why we're here.
Okay.
It was an honest mistake.
Right, I see that. So the counselors in support, there's 4 neighbors in support, including the most immediate neighbor. So let's just see if committee members have any questions, or if someone's ready to bring a motion.
I just have one question. Is the top railing now complete? Because I went on Google Maps and it was missing.
Yes, it's completely 100% finished. I mean, if we need to email pictures, we can, but everything.
I believe you. It's a very attractive addition, and I move to accept the variances.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Seconder for
the other, just before we do the motion, the speaker that's registered, are they in support or opposition?
Oh, I thought, could we reach that? I realized we do have a speaker on this application. Okay, so we do have a speaker, so I guess we have to hold off on the motion until we hear.
Yeah, we have to hold off on the motion, okay?
We do have the speaker at 47 Brownville. So it looks
Good
like
morning, yes,
across
Mr.
the
Chairman.
street. Hello. That Elio?
My name is Elio Jamala, yes, and I live across the street from the house in question, and my intent to speak was just in lieu of a letter of support. I'm in complete favor of what they have done to the house. I just could not get a letter out in time, so thought I would join here to voice my opinion.
Very, very neighborly for you to do so and come on the line and wait to hear all this interesting, me reading my speech and dealing with deferrals. And luckily, you're item number 1. So very nice of you. So I guess there's no questions for that. So let's continue. We have a motion on the floor. Mr. Comeric, though, we've now heard from the neighbor. So does that mean you're prepared to second the motion?
Absolutely. I just want, if they were in opposition, I just wanted them to have a chance to.
No, thank you for
Totally fair.
Thank you for noticing that. We jumped the gun. Okay, all in favor? Okay, approved. So you have your variances. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we need to stay for the rest of the meeting, or are we able to log out?
Yes, you have to stay
Okay,
until the end of the 5:30 meeting. No, really, you can leave.
Have a good rest of the day.
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
Thank you. I'm just hoping to get into work. So
yeah, go ahead. Although
thank you. Have a great day.
It can be entertaining, but anyway, go ahead.
No kidding. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. The second item is 161 the Kingsway. And this is an application to construct a new front porch, a 2nd-story addition above the existing attached garage, 2-story north and south side additions. And there are 8 variances. We have an Arborist Report. Planning is asking for a slight modification to the height of 0.25 of a meter. And that's, I believe, all we have. Registered to speak is Michael Flynn, the agent, as well as, I'm not sure if we have Anthony Syracuse on the line. You said you couldn't reach him. Okay. Mr. Flynn.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, pretty straightforward application. We have the Arborist Report, although I don't believe we have any forestry conditions. And we have the planning recommendation. So would you like to address the committee?
Yes, sir. As you can see, the only issue is planning's request for a reduction in height by 0.25, and that's for only a portion of the roof. So the history on this is that when we applied, we were assigned a community planner named Timur, who requested a reduction at that time of the total height and the soffit height. And we agreed to do those things, so we eliminated the variance for soffit height altogether, and we reduced the height, the total height, to, I believe it's 10.75. Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. And then we sent those revised drawings to Timur, looking for his comments. He unfortunately suffered some kind of an injury and went on leave. To complicate matters, planning did not reassign the file to anybody else. So we went back and forth for months trying to get something going on it, until finally Avina was assigned at my request, and she came back and asked for this reduction of 0.25. By that time, we were like 4 or 5 months down the road, and we already had our hearing date. So we didn't want to have to defer again based on all of that.
So hold on, we're talking about 10 inches in my language as opposed to 0.25 of a meter for just a portion of the roof.
That's correct.
How,
so
would,
less
that,
than a
how
foot.
would that be discernible to the, would that be discernible to a neighbor or the public?
No, I use the walking my dog down the street scenario. So somebody walking down the street, first of all, doesn't know what average grade is, and they probably don't know what the technical measurement is from average grade to the peak of the roof. So when they look at the roof, would they see that it was 1 foot too high on one part of the roof? They wouldn't know. Would it be offensive? Would it be adverse? No, I don't believe it would be. So I don't really think that planning is being reasonable to ask for a change this late in the process.
And this minimal.
And it's a minimal variance, and all of the variances are actually minimal. And you can see by the memo from planning that they have no objection to any of the other minor variances requested. So I believe that we should maintain the existing drawings and go ahead with this application as requested, and we ask for your approval.
Right, so not to disregard the planning recommendation. For
correct.
10 inches lower on a portion.
Yes.
Okay. That extra 10 inches makes it not in keeping with the prevailing massing and scale of existing dwellings in the area. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Flynn? We do not have a speaker here. Thank you, Mr. Comeric.
I have a question with regards to trees, because on Google View, it appears that there are some city trees in the boulevard, but there's no request from, so should we not be doing a tree protection zone?
We are, sir. There's an arborist report that protects all the trees. There is no intended injury or removal of any trees at all.
Okay, so do we not need to, I guess question to staff really, should we not be putting a forestry condition on this approval?
Mr. Carvalino, I would think that they haven't asked for one, so, and the arborist report supports what they're going to do. Mr. Carvalino?
Chair, through you, Mr. Chair, forestry has been circulated the agenda and they have not commented back. So they're not requesting any conditions on this application.
Thank you. Okay, that question's been answered. Any further questions, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I find the request from the planning department to reduce the building height by less than 10 inches to be immaterial. And I find the variances to meet the 4 tests, and I move for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. A second for that.
I can second that in spite of the fact that it's a very charming 1.5-story home, but I will second it, yes.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Flynn.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I just need to confirm something.
Okay.
Ian McEwen, are you there? Ian, are you there? Ian, are you there? Okay, sorry.
Okay, item 3 has been deferred, so moving on to item number 4, 34 Milton Street. This is an application for a new detached dwelling with an attached garage, and there are 8 variances. And on this application, other than which I don't always state, we have obviously the location map and the survey and the plans in each case. We have an arborist report and nothing whatsoever, no comments from neighbors or city staff. The speaker on this application is Marin Zabzuni. Mr. Zabzuni, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Marin Zabzuni at 1140 the Queensway.
Okay, so we have a new build, 8 variances, and no communication from anyone. You've submitted an arborist report. And community
We've actually
planning,
worked.
sorry, community planning is asking for conditions 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So very clean application, other than the fact there are 8 variances here. So I guess they're all considered, they're all pretty minor. Would you like to just briefly address the committee?
Sure. So we've actually worked fairly close with city planning to make adjustments to bring to you these variances that you see today. It's a 2-story dwelling that it's on a narrow lot, which do affect some of these variances, and it's very fitting and common build envelope in the area and vicinity. So it's a very straightforward application that I believe meets the 4 tests for the area. Nothing stands out, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, and I guess that's because you were working with planning and have made changes that we don't have any reports for information. Sometimes they would give that in that circumstance. So committee members, any questions for Mr. Zabzuni, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? And there are forestry conditions.
I'm prepared to make a motion to approve this application, find it to be minor in nature and consistent with the 4 test, subject to forestry conditions 2 and 3.
Thank you, Ms. Reddick. Second for Ms. Reddick's motion. Mr.
Is it 2 and 3 or 1 and 2?
I have 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
I have 2 and 3 as well.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I can second that motion.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Zabzuni.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is 196 the Kingsway. It's an application to construct a 2-story rear addition. We have 2 variances. The side lot, north side lot line, and the coverage, floor space index rather. We have a covering letter, an arborist report, photos, 2 letters of support, and forestry looking for condition number 2. And the speaker on this application is Hoke Sun, the agent.
Good morning. It's Ho Sung, architect, 456 Bloor Street West.
Okay, so we have your cover letter and the arborist report. I don't feel committee members want a presentation on this application, or just see if you have any questions. Okay, everyone's shaking their head no. You've given us photos and you have support letters. So would you like to address, let the committee know anything, or can I just see if anyone has any questions for you?
I could give a short background, but if you have any specific questions.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions? I don't believe we need a presentation. Committee members? No, they're shaking their head. Okay, is someone ready to make a motion, unless there's any questions for the agent?
I believe the application is minor and meets the 4 test, and therefore would like to move approval, subject to forestry condition number 2.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Komorik. Ms. Alderson, I see your hand is up. Seconding that, all in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Sung.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, panel.
Okay, number 6 has been deferred, so moving on to number 7, 9 Beckwith Road. This is an application for additions, specifically to construct a 1-story addition, a new covered front porch, a covered rear yard deck, and to extend the existing carport. There are 2 variances, and again, we have an arborist report and absolutely nothing else on file, no communication from city staff or neighbors. The speaker on this is Eddie Perez.
Hello, good morning, Chairman and committee members. This is Eddie Perez on behalf of the owners.
Okay, very straightforward application. Would you like to advise the committee of anything, Mr. Perez, or should we just see if anyone has any questions, is ready for a motion? We only have 2 variances. Yeah.
Straightforward. Thank you.
And I assume the north side lot line variance of 0.2 of a meter it's being built in line. It's already a variance, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Perez, or is someone ready for a motion?
Mr. Chair, I find the variances meet the 4 tests, and I move approval without conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Thank you, Ms. Alderson. See your hand up. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Perez. We'll see you here again.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
For item number 8, the 2 individuals registered, they will not be speaking on this item. They are scheduled for the afternoon.
Okay. Okay, in which case, item number 8, 588 Lakeshore Boulevard West. It's an application to construct a 2-story north and west side additions, large the existing garage. A previous committee of adjustment application approved variances relating to floor space index, side yard setback, and building length. That was back in September 2020, and we have a copy of the previous decision and minutes, a cover letter, we have a heritage report and correspondence, and we have 1 letter in support. Speaker on this application is Ross DeFina.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Ross DeFina. I'm the agent acting on behalf of the owners at 2588 Lakeshore, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. And we have your cover letter and the letter of support and the heritage report. And heritage, I don't believe, is they're not asking for any conditions.
No.
Yeah, so this is just you had a variance back in September for the FSI floor space index to 0.46 from 0.4 permitted, from 4.0 permitted, and now you're going up by 0.2 to 4.8.
Yeah, the unfortunate part of the original application, we'd worked through with planning to resolve this, and it was understood that in Etobicoke, there was no minimum size to a garage, so therefore the existing was considered to be the maximum. When we added the front bay, it wasn't determined until the second round of zoning came back and said, hey, we need to deal with the GFA, we need to take it from the garage. So the owner had agreed at that point in time that we would do that reduction because they were considering a cabana. And then while through construction, they decided they didn't want to damage that space. They wanted to keep it up. And it would cause, given the sense of size of the lot near the tree that's over on the west side, a bit of damage to that degree. So they're just requesting that they can keep the existing walls as they are.
Okay.
And the existing opening. That's it.
So that's why you had to come back to get that extra 0.2.
That's correct, yes. It was negotiated with zoning to handle it this way, and that's why we're back.
Okay. Committee members, any questions for Mr. DeFina, or is someone ready for a motion?
I can make a motion if no one has any questions. I believe that Heritage has weighed in and has no concerns. And And so I'm happy to make a motion for approval. I believe it meets the 4 tests.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. Seconder, Ms. Radek, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Defina.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Our next application is item number 921, Fernalroy Boulevard. It's an application to construct a pool in the front yard and to install an air conditioning device in the front yard. There are 2 variances. We have a previous Committee of Adjustment decision from December 2019 approving 11 variances. We have photos. We have 4 letters of opposition. And we have Urban Forestry requesting conditions 1 and 2. Speaker for this application is Maren Zabzuni, as well as the neighbors at 28 Leamington Avenue and 9 Burford, who are, I believe, 2 of the people who've written in. We also had letters from someone at 81 Saybrook and 10 Colwyn. But 2 of the 4 letter speakers are registered. So let's start off. Mr. Zabzuni.
Good morning again, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Maren Zabzuni, again at 1140 the Queensway. So we're proposing a swimming pool to what we call the backyard, but what the zoning definition calls the front yard. The reason for this is an irregular corner lot. So the backyard is actually considered the front yard of the property by zoning definition. The homeowners use this as their backyard. This is where their wood deck is located as well, and is the largest usable outdoor space on the lot. It is the most logical.
You want to hold on a second? Can we get the photo up on the screen while Mr. Zabzuni is speaking?
Yeah, and even the site plan, if you want to pull that up later too, just so you can have a visual. So it is quite evident, this is the largest outdoor space, usable space on the lot. This is what the homeowners use as their backyard because of the way the lot is situated. And behind the dwelling, there's actually a garage on the left portion. So that is what zoning defines as the backyard, but there's no space for a pool there. Not only that, more importantly, it would be a hazard to have a pool there because there's no sight view due to the garage. So they have young kids, young children. It would be very unsafe to place the pool beside the garage. The only logical location would be here where they use their space for backyard space. And their front entrance door and garage technically is considered the side yard, but that's what they actually consider the front yard. So there's very little space there. The pool placement was marked outside of the tree hoarding on site. The homeowners love the trees on the property. That's one of the reasons they bought the property. They're doing a whole landscaping plan, adding a garden, and they're adding 30 cedar trees at least. So this will all be, improved in every instance. And I think this is the most logical proposal to add a pool, the most logical area and the safest area for their family and their kids and to enjoy. So it is a regular lot, and I would ask the city and the neighbors to review this based on those merits rather than just the zoning notice or the public hearing notice saying that it's a front yard, because it's an irregular, unusual lot, and that's the reason we have these variances.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zabzuni. As you answered the questions, I was going to ask, whether there's going to be extensive plantings and fencing. I guess you have to have fencing for a pool in any case, but given the location of this lot on a corner, I guess they want privacy as much as the neighborhood would want privacy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's hear from the 2 speakers who you've also received and reviewed their letters. The first speaker, Donna Jerome from 28 Leamington Avenue.
Hi, yes, I have a concern about the trees on the property. There was one tree that was a healthy, mature tree that was placed on the property. As you could probably see in the diagrams, that it was on the, I guess, the side of the Burford, facing Burford, which was cut halfway down because at least part of it was taken down because of the porch that they decided to put up. Maybe the tree, like they had trimmed the back of the tree, the branches, and then they kept the tree for a while, and then all of a sudden the tree was gone. Well, this tree that was there housed a number of birds at night, and they would sit there and they would be gone during the day. So this was like a place where they would stay. So by taking that tree down, the trees had the birds had to migrate to another tree or another area, which was not their home to begin with. You know, and I just, I'm in a disagreement with the fact that they said they loved the trees on the property. If they did love the trees on the property, then why did they take that tree down? Apparently they were supposed to put a fencing around the tree, which there was no fencing placed around the tree as a protection when they did build the house. My concern is that they're going to take the other trees down on the property to place their pool. First of all, there's a bylaw that says that there shouldn't be a pool placed on the front yard. So I'm asking the committee, why was this allowed to go to a committee of adjustments when the bylaw actually says that there shouldn't be a pool? So I don't feel that they should be allowed to place the pool. And I also feel that the pool, you know, it's something like it would be like an eyesore anyway. The front of the property, it's at the front of the property. It's not at the back of the property. Everyone else has who has a pool in the area has their pools located in the backyard. If they wanted to have a pool in the backyard, they should have bought a property that was big enough to place a pool in the backyard. I mean, if this will set a precedence for everybody else. So if I want to have a pool in my backyard, in my front yard, I'd love to have a pool. So my backyard's not that big to have a pool. So does that mean I'll be able to, you know, place a pool in my front yard? Like, to me, it does not make any sense to have a pool. Like, there's no other place in the city that, at least in this area, that has a pool.
Okay.
So I object to the pool.
Okay.
And I object to the air conditioner, but apparently now the air conditioner has already been placed. So I don't know how that got by or what, if there was any inspectors that went.
Ma'am, it's whether it's been placed, if it's now a variance, it's something they need permission for. Okay, so that's still before us. Even though it's been placed there, they still need the permission. They may have already put it in. And obviously, anyway, we'll let the applicant in due course respond, but they don't have a backyard. That's why I don't think it would set a precedent. I don't think you'd be able to put a pool in your front yard if you have a traditional lot. So we'd like to just sum up your comments, and then we'll go to the next speaker, and Mr. Zabzuni will respond to your concerns. Is there anything?
Okay, I would just like you to consider where the pool is being placed, because I feel that it's not a proper place to put a pool. And I know it's a different lot being on a corner, that I feel that there's, it should just be looked into.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next, does anyone have any questions for Ms. Jerome at this time? Or we can move on to the next speaker. The next speaker is Mr. and Mrs. Fee at 9 Burford Place, and we also have their letter. Is it one speaker?
Good morning. Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Are we hearing from Brent or Kathy?
I'm going to speak. I'm Kathy.
Okay,
and
welcome.
we live directly across the street from where they want to put the pool at 9 Burford. We would be looking at their entire side of the property where the pool would be, and where the tree in question that Donna brought up has been removed. And I don't know how that was approved, but that might not be before us today. So what I want to say is we strongly oppose the placement of a pool where they want to put it. If they wanted a pool, they should have built their house so they can accommodate a pool someplace other than where they want to put it. They have no room for a pool on that property. I understand it's a corner lot, but where they want to put the pool is not, we totally oppose where the pool is going to go. We're not talking about a wheelchair ramp, a variance for a wheelchair ramp, which is completely different than a pool. A pool is a luxury item. And by the way, we have a lovely community pool within walking distance. So we totally oppose the pool. If you go to your 4 tests on the previous page, the variance is minor. I don't think a pool that there are already existing bylaws against is minor. Appropriate development for land use. There are no other pools in the neighborhood on corner lots. General intent is maintained. There are rules against this. I don't know why we're even discussing this. And the general intended persons of the official plan, we're not talking about a necessity. We're talking about a luxury. I don't think a pool is a necessity for being put on a lot. And if they wanted a pool, they should have considered that before they bought a corner lot. And then let's get to the trees. I don't know how they can put a pool in there. The overhang of the existing tree where the roots would be is where the pool is going to go. So I don't know how they're going to get an arborist to say they're not going to affect that tree or possibly affect the tree that's been there for 60 years probably. We don't want anything to happen to the tree. So they've already taken out a protected tree. The tree that they took out was over 30 centimeters in diameter. How were they able to take out the protected tree? There was no public consultation about the tree they took out. I don't know how they were able to take out a protected tree. So what's to stop them from taking out the other protected trees?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fee.
Done.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like the tree that was taken out, the protected tree that's already been taken out so that they can put in their patio, which is beside where the pool's going to go. I'd like to know how that tree was taken out without any consultation with the neighborhood.
Okay, we'll hear from Mr. Zabzuni in response. I guess typically urban forestry doesn't involve community consultation and making, so we'll hear if urban forestry was involved in the decision or the removal of that tree. But one thing I just want to clarify, because both you and your neighbor have mentioned something like, why are we even here? It's not permitted. You can't have a pool in the front yard. Just to let you know, Committee of Adjustment staff, if any member of the public wants to bring an application, they can bring an application. They want to build a 40-story condominium on their lot. They have to take the application. If they pay their fee, they submit their application, community planning takes in. So every application is a matter of, it's not a question of anyone is at liberty and it has the right to bring an application to committee, and it gets processed and it's either approved or refused. So Mr. Zabzuni, I guess the neighbors are concerned with the tree. They don't think it's appropriate in the front yard. Move it back over to you to respond to the 2 concerns, and for that matter, the other 2 letters with the speakers did not come to buttress their letters, but we do have those letters on file. So
yes, thank you. I heard the neighbors' concerns, and I can appreciate any concern they have for what's being proposed and built in their neighborhood. I do feel that their assessment is not a fair assessment given the lot situation and what is considered a front yard and backyard. This partly is a technical variance in the way just the lot is situated. The existing dwelling, on the previous committee, we proposed an addition. So this is not even a new build. So even in terms of saying it should have been designed in a way to allow more space for the backyard, we did not actually have that opportunity as it was an addition for the home. And again, like there's ample space here, even though it's considered the front yard. This is the most outdoor space they have, essentially, the most private space other than the hazardous area behind the garage. We also placed the pool to be outside of the tree protection zone so that as to not to injure or remove trees. The homeowners love trees. They're gonna add more trees, a lot of landscaping, fencing, like they really care about landscaping. So they're definitely going above and beyond there. In terms of the tree that was removed, it was done through a tree permit through urban forestry. And as you know, there's no public consultation on that end. And they had to do to the construction on the proposed deck and balcony and so forth, but it was done through city channels. We have spoken with city planning on this application as well for the proposed pool. They have no concern. They completely understand that, you know, it's the situation of having a corner lot. Where else will we put it here? It's on private property too. It's not on city property where it would cause a hazard or an eyesore, as they say, to neighborhoods. You know, whether there's a pool there or patio space, it does not impact neighbors whatsoever. And the homeowners, you know, they're not asking for anything abnormal here. I'm not sure what more we can really say, but I think this is a very minor application. You know, where they're going above and beyond to landscape the whole area, fence it, beautify it, and the pool is situated away from the trees as much as possible with these existing conditions. And there's no other space for anywhere else in the lot for it. This is their backyard, what they use as their backyard, and is the most appropriate location for a pool. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zabzuni. So committee members, any questions for Mr. Zabzuni, or for that matter, for either the two neighbors who've weighed in, or is someone ready to weigh in with the motion? Mr. Kamara?
I have a question for the speakers. Basically, I'm curious to know if they feel that there is any appropriate place on this lot for a pool in their view.
Yeah. Is that, you mean the neighbors?
Yeah. Because a big concern is about where it's located, where they're locating the pool. So just wondering if the neighbors feel that it would be appropriate to locate a pool somewhere else on this lot or not at all.
Yeah, I think they said, but we're really right. They said if they shouldn't have bought this lot if they wanted a pool because it's not appropriate. So there, and as Mr. Zabuni said, there is no room elsewhere to put a pool. So, okay, let's go to Miss Jerome. Ms. Jerome, would you like to respond to Mr. Kamarik's question?
Sorry. I think if they were to put a pool, they could have put a pool on at the side of the property by the by the garage, if they wanted to put a pool there. They could have, right as a as the property sits now, there's that would be the only place, like, besides the front of the yard.
Okay, thank you for answering that question for Mr. Komarik. Mr. Komarik, do you have any follow-up question for the speaker, or?
I just think anywhere you put a pool on that property, it's going to look like it's on a front line.
Yeah.
On the because it fronts on two streets.
Yeah, and where the house is placed, so there is no other spot. Yeah. I'll ask the same question of Ms. Fee.
Hi, it's actually Brent Fee, her husband. I'm also registered to speak. Yeah, hello. I guess I would agree with Donna that I do see, if they would really want a pool, I don't see why they couldn't put one on the side beside the garage. I think the agent mentioned that it was dangerous for the kids. I don't know how that would be the case. I think they've got it all fenced in, and it seems to me like that's the most appropriate place to put a pool. And the front yard issue, I think the agent has mentioned that it's more of a backyard or a side yard, but I'd like to address the committee. The front yard, the front door of their home is right in that same sort of area. It looks like it's the front door they built there is right there, and their driveway is right there too. The existing home, that was their front yard. So I don't know how the agent can be saying that it's actually not the front yard, it's a side yard. That doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, that's my point about the pool. I do see that. I do agree with Mr. Kumarak that any place that they put a pool is out of place with the neighborhood. Nobody in the neighborhood with a corner lot has a pool. We're worried about the trees. The mature trees are probably 50 years old, I'm guessing, and I don't think you can just replace those with trees. Anyway, I'll stop talking. Those are my points.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fee. Okay, any other questions for either the agent or the neighbors, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied that regarding the tree issues, the conditions requested by Urban Forestry cover those issues off. They've requested conditions 1 and 2 dealing with city and private trees. With respect to the principle of the pool, I believe that the location selected is the right one. I think the evidence is that it is in the backyard, functionally speaking, for the homeowner. I don't accept that it would be wise to put the pool on the other side of the house, where the pool would be separated from the main part of the house by a garage. I accept the evidence that that is not safe. And therefore, I move approval subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. We have a seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion.
Can I just, is there, this is a question for staff, I guess. Can we make this conditional upon a landscaping plan being submitted? An appropriate landscaping plan with fencing? I mean, I know fencing is going to have to be there, but I'm just, in terms of the landscaping plan itself, is there some way of enforcing that or bringing that to bear?
Mr.
Through you, Mr.
Carpino,
Chair.
can you weigh in on that, please? Thank you.
Committee can impose the condition. The difficulty would be how to secure it with an LC and to whose approval. Community planning has not requested this. So they have reviewed it and they didn't comment back. So staff would recommend that you deal with the application as is before you, as it would be difficult for us to go back to community planning and tell them that they're responsible for signing off and securing for a landscape treatment for the property.
Thank you, Mr. Carbolino. Does that answer your question?
I guess so, yeah.
And we have a motion on the floor, so.
Yeah, in that case, based on what the applicant reported regarding a full landscaping plan, what he reported to this committee, I will second that motion. How's that?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Alderson. We have a motion. It's been seconded. All in favor? Opposed? So the motion carries 4-1. Ms. Ruddick dissenting. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zabzuni, and thank you, neighbors.
Thank you.
Okay, I propose it's now 20 to 11, and we have only about 7 more applications, or even less than that. Will we take a 10-minute break? I'm sure we'll be finished by noon anyway and have to have an hour lunch before the 1 p.m. So 10-minute break proposed. Motion. Need a seconder? Okay, Mr. Taylor. Everyone's all unanimous. Okay, we'll see everyone back here at 10 to 11. Okay, welcome back. Next application is item number 1120 Woodgate Drive. It's an application to construct a two-story north side and rear addition and a rear yard deck. There are 3 variances. Planning has a condition of approval being recommended that it be constructed as illustrated on the architectural plans regarding the FSI and the number of stories. TRCA has no objection, and we have 2 letters of opposition. We only have 1 registered speaker, Jonathan Benkowski, the agent. Mr. Benkowski. We also have, yeah, there is no urban forestry condition here. Mr. Benkowski, welcome.
Morning, sir. How you doing?
Okay. Committee members, I don't think we need a presentation from Mr. Benkowski, or someone just want to ask some questions? Mr. Benkowski, is there anything you'd like to advise the committee?
Basically, 2 quick things. The 3rd floor requirement, as well as the FSI, is basically because it's a renovation, which is caused by the basement being considered the established 1st floor, which creates the 3rd floor as well as the increase in FSI. The actual FSI of livable space above grade is exactly 0.5, which is the zoning bylaw.
Okay. And you're okay with the planning condition being recommended?
Correct.
Okay, committee members, any questions for Mr. Benkowski? And if not, is someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
Mr. Chair, I find the variances meet the 4 tests on the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to the Community Planning Department condition.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Second for Mr. Taylor's motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Benkowski.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Our next item is item number 12, 62 Edenvale Crescent. This is to legalize and maintain the newly constructed dwelling that has been demolished and a new detached dwelling with an attached garage that is currently under construction. There are 4 variances. We have a cover letter, supporting material, an arborist report, 2 orders comply, and a total of 11 letters of support. Urban Forestry is requesting variance number 1. The speaker, we have the agent, John Ramirez, as well as the owner of the property, I guess, available for questioning. As we only have 1 speaker, so there's no one here speaking with concerns. So, Mr. Ramirez, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes, my name is John Ramirez. I am the agent and the designer of this project. And today we have 4 variances that we're requesting. The reason why we have these 4 variances is mainly the fact that our house was designated as a new building. We started off as a renovation, and the main floor walls were in poor shape, very unstable. So the homeowner removed them. And so in that case, more than 50% of the walls were removed. So we had to, we were designated as a new build. Now, keep in mind that we maintained all the foundation walls. Everything has been existing and we've kept them. We built exactly in the same footings or the same foundations. But again, we have to comply with the new bylaws because we're designated as a new build. So if you see the presentation I've given, you'll see the 4 variances that we're requesting. You can see what we're asking for in regards to, if you see the breakdown of our variances, you'll see the front yard setback, we're asking for a 1.52 meter relief. Again, we're keeping the garage wall, which is existing today and has been always existing, is still there. And so I don't know if you can bring up the images that I've submitted. You'll see that I've highlighted it in red where the garage wall is and where we're building right above it. And then you'll see where the required setback is. And then you'll see that I don't know, it says their variance number 1, front yard setback. Well, you can see it there. I've submitted a presentation, but I guess they don't have it available right now. But you can see the garage wall where the driveway is. We're building right there in the same place. Yeah, on page number 2. There you go. So you can see the existing main wall. That wall has not been removed on the lower level. So where the garage door is, it was just a wall above it that was removed, and we replaced it in the same place. And the neighbor to the left has actually submitted a letter of support, along with 22 other neighbors that supported our application, or is supporting our application today. If you go to the second page, or the second variance, you can see here we're asking for the width of the porch steps to be increased. And this is an existing stair. We just want to keep it. Again, we started as a renovation, and we just want to maintain it. It's been there for many years, and nobody in the neighborhood had concerns regarding these porch steps. We can go to the next sheet, variance number 3. Again, here the main floor height that we're asking for, I believe it's about 0.27 meters we're asking for. It's existing. We didn't change the main floor height. It's always been existing. It's never been an issue in this neighborhood. And we have so many letters of support with our renovation. We can go to the last sheet, variance number 4. Here we're asking for an additional building height. You can see what's highlighted in blue. It's about 0.27 meters. It's only on one side of the house. It's not on the entire house. And we comply actually with the new bylaw in this case, but we don't comply under the old bylaw. So these are the 4 variances that we're asking to get approved today. And again, I'll just mention again that we have a lot of support from the neighbors. And that's really it. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Any follow-up questions for Mr. Ramirez, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
I can weigh in with a motion if there are no further questions from the committee. I believe this application meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move for approval subject to urban forestry condition number 1, I believe.
Yes. Thank you. We have a seconder for Ms. Alderson's motion. Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez and Ms. Hunter.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, our next application is item number 13, 230 GRENVIEW Boulevard South, an application to construct a 2nd-story front addition and a 2-story rear addition. There are 6 variances. We have a copy of the site-specific zoning bylaw, supporting materials and site photos, 17 letters of support. We have a recommendation from planning recommending refusal, that it's not the prevailing character in the area. The speaker for this application is Ida Evangelista. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members. Ida Evangelista on behalf of the owners, Jose and Gina, at 230 GRENVIEW. Okay. You have been, will I be making a presentation because of planning?
Yeah, I believe we should have a presentation.
Yes.
Planning
yes.
Says they've compared it to the neighboring residential properties in immediate context and the surrounding neighborhood, and found the proposal and lot coverage and floor space index are not consistent with prevailing character, exceeds the scale of development contemplated. So did I don't know when this is dated. Did you have an opportunity to make the planner to make changes, or what happened on this application?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So I believe you should have in front of you a waiver. We made changes to the application, and we submitted revised plans. The new coverage is 42.61%. I just want to confirm that what you have
sorry,
in
I
front of
forgot.
you are
Ms. Evangelista, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention in the additional materials that we received just yesterday, there was the revised sheet, which I'm happy. So that's up on showing in yellow the changes that you've made that were still not acceptable to community planning.
Well, planning has not responded, but they reviewed, and their comments, their staff report is based on the 45%. We have made the change. Right, yes. So I would like to add a couple of things too. Planning staff did review the application at 45%. They did make the comments based on that, on most plans. We made the revisions. The new coverage is 42.61. We've reduced the gross floor area. We've increased our rear yard setback, and our length is now 17.78. We are asking for 0.78. The footprint of the house will remain, and if you refer to the front page of my submission, the subject property, there is a one-story addition at the front of the house, and there's a one-story addition at the back of the house, which is the garage, and with an area behind the garage. So essentially, the plan is this house is a 1920s house. It's original, and what the owners would like to do, we have 4 adults living in this house, and they just need more space because now most of them, 3 of them are working from home. So essentially the plan is to increase the area. So at the front of the house, we will be adding an additional floor, so it will be 2 stories at the front of the house. We will, the proposal is to extend the garage so that it is a 2-car garage, and with area above a larger bedroom for that matter. And I would like to add that, I do understand, planning did make their comments. However, yes. 231 GRENVIEW, this coverage is 42.86%, and 235 is 48.14, which is neighboring. It's the immediate context. The 17 letters of support, the owners spoke to all the neighbors. All those neighbors saw the plans at 45%, and they were okay with it. They are keeping the existing character of the home. They're not changing it. They love this neighborhood. We do not have a rear yard landscaping variance. We do not have an overall height variance. We are asking for an additional 280 square feet just to, allow the family more space within the home. And I respectfully submit that what we have or what you have in front of you does meet the 4 tests. It does fit the character of the neighborhood. They will continue. There are all full 2-story homes in this neighborhood. This is one of the homes that, has and is like this. It's not a full 2-story. And this will just allow them to do their interior alterations, provide additional space inside in their home. And as I mentioned, immediately adjacent to the coverage is much greater than what we are asking for.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Evangelista. So yeah, I just checked the report by the planner dated June the 15th. It was based on 45%. And although you've indicated adjacent properties are over 45%, you have, in order to appease planning, reduced that to 42.6. I think I can't read the sign. Read up what's up there. So, committee members, there is no opposition. Otherwise, than the community planning's recommendation of refusal at 45%, and we have 17 letters of support. So, any further questions? Any questions for Ms. Evangelista, or is someone ready for a motion?
Just a quick question. So, just confirming, there's no one opposing this application?
Through you, Mr. Chair. No, we did receive a letter from Kingsway Park, I believe, Fiona Campbell. She made some concerns regarding the trees, but we are not touching any trees. Landscaping remains. We are not affecting anything around the property.
Okay, no, fair enough. And planning did not, or chose not to, or has not been able to comment on the revisions?
No. Through you, Mr. Chair, no.
Thank you.
Okay, on that basis, I'd like to move approval as per the revised drawings. And sorry, this is item
13.
Yeah, with subject to forestry condition number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Komorak. Seconder for that, Ms. Alderson, I see your hand up. Thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Ms. Evangelista.
Thank you, members. Have a great day.
Thank you. Okay, the next application is item number 14, 6 BELVALE Avenue. And this is an application for a detached dwelling with a new detached dwelling with a detached garage. And there are, I believe there's only 4 variances. This was previous Committee of Adjustment approval of variances for FSI height and stair width. We have a cover letter supporting material, a planning report for information, 3 letters of opposition, and in the additional materials we have number 5, I believe, an objection. And this is, yeah, there's apparently a waiver. There's some report for information discussing the garage. They didn't include the garage, and now it has to include the garage. That's why they had to come back here for a second application. Speaker on this application is Sergio Galvez, the agent, as well as the neighbor from 4 Belleville next door. Okay, Mr. Galvez?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, and we have, Urban Forestry requesting condition number 2. So following my introduction, would you just like to give us a brief presentation of how we came here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yes, this is the second minor variance. It's not because we wanted to get more variances or a larger home. It was because some variances were missed the first time around, or the interpretation between the citywide zoning bylaw and the Etobicoke. We only went for 3 originally on the height on FSI and for an exterior stair to the basement. But so this time around, zoning asked for us to reduce the house. So actually, the house is smaller in overall length and in width, sorry, excuse me, and in overall height. So it's 12 inches smaller in width, length, and in height. The existing house along the south property line sits at, the existing house sits at 0.82 meters from the property line. The new one we're proposing is 0.92, and the opposite side is 1.2. So zoning permits 2.1 meters combined, and that's what we're meeting.
Right. And
The FSI.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I guess
Go
you
ahead.
lowered, even though you're increasing because of not any changes, but just a different interpretation, you're in fact responding to planning and actually reducing one of your other variances to 0.66. Is that what? You've actually reduced some variance, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we had to reduce, exactly. We had to reduce the overall size, coverage of the house and height. Again, because there's 2 zoning bylaws in place. I originally took the height to the street, whereas they take it from the actual grade at the house. So we are at the max in terms of height. We are at the allowable 9.5 meter max.
Yes.
The FSI, though, it was what I wanted to comment on, is that currently on the street, just within this block, there are 3 houses over 0.5 FSI. 5 are over 0.6, and 1 of them is over 0.7. So that's a total of 9 houses. I know some of the comments, objections were kind of upset about the size. But previously too, as was mentioned, we previously requested 0.67 FSI.
Yes.
And now seeking 0.71 because of the garage. It wasn't included originally. So then my numbers were off. So they didn't permit, it was actually in for building permit, and they said you don't have clearance for this, or you don't have the variance. So that's why now we're seeking the 0.71.
Okay.
Which includes the garage. And lastly, if I can just quick comment, the lot coverage, we are seeking 37.8 lot coverage, whereas 33% is allowed.
Okay, thank you. So just what I was just trying to clarify for the committee members was in variance number 3, you're actually coming down 0.01 from what you approved at when you first came to committee. And that's 3 meters less, exactly. And I think you touched on that. So you actually made some changes in exchange for getting to correct this error. You've actually made a small reduction of 3 meters, I assume because community planning asked for that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, committee members, any questions for, well, Mr. Galvez, then we'll hear from the neighbor. Okay, not at this time, so let's hear from the neighbor, and Mr. Galvez will obviously have a chance to respond. It's a neighbor from 4 BELVALE, right next door, and we have a speaker either, I'm not sure if we have Mr. Passarelli or Ms. Zuccarelli speaking.
Hi, good morning. You have Maria Zuccarelli speaking at 4 BELVALE.
Okay.
So I just wanted to comment that we were quite shocked to get another letter. We thought everything had been resolved, everything had been granted on the November 24th previous meeting, and now we find out, oh my gosh, he wants the side yard setback reduced to 0.9 on our side. Okay, so this doesn't seem minor to us. Everything else was granted. All the concerns that we had back in November, they got everything they wanted. The so-called minor variance means that on our side, on the north side of our house, we have 6 windows, 2 of which are our main dining eating area and a bathroom window. It's the narrowing of it's going to be it's already a narrow pathway, but a pathway that's going to have increased foot traffic because there is a location of a mudroom entrance on that side. And so it's going to be a very, very busy pathway. And it's that pathway is directly across our eating area and our bathroom window. In fact, the other day, my husband was cleaning the windows in the bathroom, and someone came to look at the house, walking along the pathway, and she got startled because my husband was there, right there at the window cleaning. So you can imagine how close that is. We're no longer going to have any privacy in our eating area or in our bathroom. And, you know, in addition, it magnifies even more our concerns about this excavation of this subterranean garage. It's not just a garage, it's a subterranean garage. And the effect that it's going to have our home is older. It's a bungalow, 1940s. The foundation, the vulnerability to water leakage and all of that other stuff that comes with it. I'm sure their intention is to build a lovely home, but it's going to be a massive home. They've come back for more, and it's massive. And it's going to be at the expense of our enjoyment of our house because they're moving it on the south side. And everything else was granted before. And we're just, you know, in order for them to get what they want, it's going to be at our expense. We didn't, you know, they got everything they asked for the first time around. And all our other neighbors were quite shocked as well. It's like, oh my gosh, you get to come around for more. Why? It doesn't seem to me that this is a necessity anymore. This, to me, seems like it's overbuilding. And it's going to come at the expense of the home that's original. I'm not saying I'm against overbuild, you know, new homes. I'm not. But my home is there. And it's going to be dwarfed. I get it. Yeah. But now you want to move it closer, and what's that going to mean for us and any, you know, enjoyment we get from our home? I'm sure they want to enjoy their home for the plans that they've made, but it's going to be at the expense of ours. So we're just respectfully asking, you know, you've got everything you wanted before. Please deny this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Zuccarelli. Does the committee members have any questions for Ms. Zuccarelli at this point? Okay, so I will go back to Mr. Galvez. Mr. Galvez, you have to, so you told us that basically this is because they didn't include it, you had to come, there's really no change, but is there a change in the additional 1 foot or the 1 foot variance from the south side lot line that didn't exist last time? You're required 1.2, you're seeking to go 0.9 meters from the south side lot line. So is that a change, or is that something was also before the committee last time?
This was always, the house was always positioned, the proposed house was always positioned at 0.92 from this neighbor's house. So that didn't change, that side. That was always original. we're not seeking to go closer to her or this neighbor for BELVALE. It's always been at that same line. The other neighbor on the north side, we went back 12 inches. Again, we made the house smaller. So we're 1.2 on that side, whereas before we were 0.9. So I get what the point she's making. However, I mean, technically the zoning bylaw allows 2.1 meter combined, and that's what we're at, 2.1.
Okay, but you didn't have, last time you had 3 variances, as I said at the outset. There was not but how come it didn't appear as a variance last time if the house hasn't moved? Did they miss it?
Yeah, so the 1.2, I'm not sure. I can't, honestly, I can't answer that other than we are, at 0.9, which is insane, in line with the existing garage.
But, so the garage isn't being, well, you're building a new dwelling. So the question is, you didn't have that variance last time and you now have it this time. So what I have to assume from that is either it was wrong or you're moving it closer. If it wasn't, then it was missed last time and Ms. Zuccarelli didn't have a chance to complain at that point, or maybe she did. But at least that wasn't before the committee, because if it was, as you see, the 3 variances you already have are not appearing on the notice. So that is, to me, it looks like a new variance. Okay, so please continue, go ahead with your rebuttal. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was, like, again, several things were missed on the first variance. FSI calculation error, a height calculation error using citywide versus Etobicoke. So we've tried to reduce everything. Then when I was speaking with planning at Etobicoke, they said we need to introduce this variance of 1.2, even though they know we have what's allowed. Again, we're allowed 2.1 combined. So the one side got 1.2 and one of them got 0.92. I really can't say more than that.
Yeah, and I guess Ms. Zuccarelli is here with her right to object to the fact it's coming 1 foot closer than she would have thought back in November. Whether it moved or not, it is showing as a variance. The issue is for the committee is whether that's that's material, that 1 foot variance. So please go ahead. I want you to make a presentation. If you'd like to continue, anything else you'd like to say?
No, yeah, that was really it. I mean, overall, we had hoped to achieve a house the first time around, and we heard her comments last time as well. And I get that a lot of her living space is perhaps on that side. It's just we never changed it from the original application. But you're right, it wasn't in bold saying this lot line or this house is 0.92, but it was always on the drawings.
Yeah, well, we have 4 variants. We have the variances before us. So that's what we have to deal with. Committee members, so with respect to this application, are there any further questions, or is someone ready to make a motion on these 4 variances?
I just would like a clarification. And just for my own sake, I had made a note to myself on review of this that planning had said something as revised. So is the application before us the revised application, or was that revised further?
The one you're seeing is the revised.
And it was revised from what?
So we were, I'm going to use the word massaging. So we kept going back and forth because they kept wanting to see changes. So the current one you see, or the one that was presented, that's the latest and greatest, if you will. And
so when the neighbor is reviewing the application, it is the revised one that they're seeing.
Right, in where everyone can access that link and see the drawings, that is what the public could see.
So that is those are the revised.
Correct. Correct.
So right, I don't know why it's revised. It just should be. That's what's before us. That's what's before us.
It's their comment. The June 9th memo is related to the most current plans. So what's before us is what's before us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just was a little
Taylor?
confused there.
Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, I have a question just for clarification, maybe just for me. What is the existing south side yard setback? Not what's proposed. What is the existing setback? The existing home.
0.82.
Okay, so this proposed home is going to be further away from number 4.
By just several inches, yeah.
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 It's not worse. It's not closer.
Yeah, I get her point because technically there's like an indent in the existing house. Indent. The garage sticks out, but then the main part of the house goes further back. So yeah, there was like a little pocket of open landscaping. So whereas now obviously the house is just straight from front to back.
And now the house is what, a bungalow, I assume?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it's like a 1.5 story.
Yeah. Okay. So the neighbor's going to say, yeah, but it's getting further from what it is, but it's getting a lot bigger, and is a foot deficient on the bylaw. But it is getting. It's very good point to clarify that it is getting further away for whatever it's worth, aside from a indentation from what the most extreme part of the side yard is. You said it's at 0.82. Okay. Any further questions? And if no further questions, is someone ready for a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied the variances requested meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to urban forestry condition 2.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Taylor, a seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion. Mr. Komarek. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Galvez, and thank you, Ms. Zuccarelli.
Thank you so much.
Okay, item number 15 is 2 ADELPHA Drive. It's an application to construct a 1-story north side addition, a new covered front porch, and a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling. There are 5 variances. We have an arborist report. Urban Forestry is requesting their conditions 1 and 2, and we have absolutely nothing else on this application. The speaker is Chris Marchese.
Yes, good morning. Excuse me, good morning, Sir Chair and fellow committee members. Chris Marchese here from Design Plant Services. Don't know if you need a presentation, but I will say I am aware of the Urban Forestry Report and the recommended conditions, and we find them acceptable if the committee were to approve this application today. If a presentation is needed, I'll be happy to do so, but I'll wait for the committee's direction on that regard.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marchese. I don't believe we need a presentation, correct, committee members? There's nothing here. There's just the urban forestry conditions. So is anyone ready to weigh in with a motion?
A motion to approve the variance requested. I find them minor in nature and consistent with the 4 tests, subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Ruddick, seconded for that, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Marchese.
Yep, thanks, Sir Chair. See you this afternoon.
Okay. Okay, item number 16 was actually 14 Elmvale. It's a 1-story south side addition. This is the one that wasn't in our initial package and was in we got a separate email enclosing this particular application. So it's a 1-story south side addition, an attached garage with the 2nd story above. There are 3 variances. We have a tree inventory. Planning has a requested condition of approval that it be constructed as illustrated on the architectural plans regarding the building length, FSI, and the something else I can't read my writing, in the 2nd floor. So we have, and also in the additional materials we received, a petition with 4 signatures of support. The speaker for this application is the owner, Ilir Zanha.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, panel.
Sorry about my
That's
pronunciation.
fine.
Can you just
That's
state your name
fine.
for the record?
It's Ilir Jaka.
Okay, thank you.
I am representing the owners, and I am their son as well.
Okay, so anything you'd like to advise the committee?
So we've been in this neighborhood for about 20 years. Our family is expanding. We would like to stay in this neighborhood. Unfortunately, we won't be able unless we do expand some of our living space. We have a great relationship with our neighbors here. They all support us. We could have got more signatures of support, but we thought that maybe the more relevant homes, meaning right behind us, next to us, in front of us, would be the main ones the committee would like to see.
Yes.
The adjustments, from what I understand, are minor. There is a tree that it's a private tree that will have to be removed. However, we will be complying with all the requirements from the forestry department, including planting another tree. I do have about 11 trees in the property as well, but we will be replacing the tree as well, or whatever requirement they want us for.
Okay. Okay, committee members, any questions for the owner? We have the planning recommended condition and urban forestry condition number 2. Mr. Komarek.
Yeah, I find the application to be minor and appropriate in meeting the 4 tests, and I would therefore like to move approval. Subject to, I've lost my notes now, hold on. Subject to forestry condition number 2, and that the project be tied to the plans submitted May 13th, 2021.
As it relates to the building length and the items mentioned in the condition.
Length of first floor and second floor, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Komarek. Seconded for Mr. Komarek's motion. Mr. Taylor, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You guys have a great day.
Great. Okay, our last item of the morning agenda is item number 17, 2161 to 2165 Lakeshore Boulevard West. This is an application to permit a parking deficiency to accommodate new residential, mixed use, and commercial buildings. This particular deficiency is the minimum required width of a parking space obstructed on one side is 2.9 meters, in which case, in this instance, 101 of the proposed parking spaces will be obstructed on one side, will have a width of no less than 2.6 meters. That's with respect to 101 of the parking spaces. I will perhaps hear how much there are total. And we have, as the speaker, is Stephanie Hardis, the agent, as well as someone from Mattamy Homes, I guess, available for consultation, I assume.
Yes, it's Christine Chia.
Right.
Yeah, and so she's there just if there's any questions for the owner.
Okay, and you know, this property has had a lot of, we've had many previous decisions dealing with this project, and so transportation has no objection, subject to 4 conditions set out in their memo, and that's what we have here. Okay, so Ms. Hardis, was there anything you'd like to add for the committee members?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to ask the committee to approve the minor variance application without conditions 2 and 3. I'm prepared to talk about the variance as well as the reasons why I feel that 2 and 3 should be sort of excluded from the conditions list.
Okay, so we're looking basically at the transportation memo. We can get it up on the board. Dated June the 10th, and there are 4 proposed conditions of approval, And you said 3 and 4. 3 is that the site plan and underground parking spaces shall be revised to explicitly indicate the following notation. Prospective residents of the dwelling unit shall be advised of the supply of small car parking spaces within the parking areas in all offers of purchase and sale. And number 4, that the above revisions will be undertaken to the satisfaction of transportation services. I guess that was items 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 you're not objecting to, correct? It's just
Sorry, 1 and 4 we're fine with, 2 and 3.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's 2 and 3. I thought it was 3 and 4. So it's
Yeah.
2 and 3, which means that 4 would only relate to item number 1. So you don't want you don't want indications on the of small car signage and each of the parking spaces. In particular, that's item 2, and in particular item 3 in terms of the the warning to prospective purchasers. So please give us a presentation on that.
Sure. My name is Stephanie Hardis. I'm a professional engineer at BA Consulting Group Limited, and I'm representing Monarch Water Development Limited for this minor variance application on the property. The minor variance application before you today meets the 4 tests of a minor variance and is seeking relief from the zoning bylaw parking space dimensions for 101 parking spaces of the 802 parking spaces provided on the site. They can be counted as parking spaces, even though they are considered to be obstructed on one side relative to the zoning bylaw. Due to the installation of a pipe behind the column, these spaces are considered obstructed. And this has occurred during the construction process with the installation of the pipe. For your information, the pipe is 30 to 60 millimeters in diameter and is located adjacent to the spaces, which creates a technical obstruction for these spaces, even though the pipe is small. All 101 of these parking spaces meet the length, height, and base width requirement as outlined in the zoning bylaw. But because the pipe is installed behind the column of the space during construction, these spaces meet that additional width requirement when the spaces are considered obstructed on one side. For your information, within the bylaw, this additional width for a parking space is provided to allow for a passenger to open the vehicle door and enter and exit their vehicles while being adjacent to a fixed object. The minor variance package for this application includes a study prepared by BA Group. This study has provided an assessment of 101 proposed small car parking spaces. The study has determined that all of these spaces will remain viable parking spaces because of the following reasons. The technical obstruction caused by the pipes is very minor, although it affects a number of spaces. The spaces remain as standard size parking spaces, which makes the turning maneuvers of the cars turning in and out in a useful way. And in fact, there is no change in maneuvering.
You need to come on first. This is before your class starts back.
Sorry?
I don't know. There was just some interference, some other person's voice, so just continue.
Okay, sorry about that.
Disregard that.
Okay, so whether or not there, whether or not there's a pipe there or not, because the pipe is small, these spaces will accommodate the appropriate door opening requirements to allow for a person to enter and exit a vehicle, even without the additional width that is required by the bylaw. As noted earlier, the City of Toronto Transportation Services Division has reviewed the application and has no objections to the variance. We are aware that the City Transportation staff have included 4 variances for this committee to consider. We are asking the committee to approve the minor variance application before you without conditions 2 and 3, as we previously discussed. These conditions talk to the necessity to define these spaces as small car parking spaces, sign them as such, and disclose them as small car parking spaces to the purchaser. It is our opinion that this is unnecessary given the obstruction caused by the pipe is minor And other than the pipe, these spaces are compliant with the minimum zoning bylaw dimensions of what is known as a regular size space. In addition, the functionality of these spaces is maintained in terms of the vehicle maneuvering, door opening, despite the proximity of the obstruction. It is our opinion that although these spaces do not meet the additional extra width requirement as outlined in the bylaw, they should not be considered the same way as you would consider a space that is smaller than the regular dimensions of a parking space. Therefore, the conditions requested by staff in this regard are not appropriate in this context. In summary, we are requesting the committee today to approve the variance for the small car parking spaces on the 2161 to 2165 Lakeshore Boulevard West property, and should this committee see fit, without conditions 2 and 3, as outlined by the Transportation Services.
Wow.
Thanks.
I thought you were finished. I'm going to say you're exactly at 5 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
I thought you were done. So basically, in a nutshell, you're basically saying, and your argument is, okay, there's an obstruction on one side of 0.3 of a meter, but it's not a small car parking space as defined. You're an expert transportation consultant, and you're saying that's not a small car. It's not deficient in width, length, depth, all of those nice things. Did you have any discussion with Transportation Services? This memo was dated 2 weeks ago today. To say,
we
hey,
had a conversation with them this week, and they mentioned to me that it was too late to change their responses. And they said that we're free to come and talk to the committee and sort of tell you our case. What I will say is that, this condition, it does exist in many garages today.
Sure.
Which not have a sign up there that say it's a small car parking space. And
Okay.
so we just want to make sure that our spaces are treated the same way as, what every other garage is being done today.
Okay, so I acknowledge that, often there's an obstruction on one side and but do they have that warning in those buildings or no, at the reference to small cars in terms of being treated? So they would have that, they wouldn't have to have those conditions 2 and 3 in your experience.
From my experience, no, for all intents and purposes, it's a regular size parking space. Where you do have that warning is when the space is less than 2.6 meters wide by 5.6 meters in length, or if the height is shorter.
Yeah, or how about this for a solution? If items number 2 and 3 referred to not small car parking, but obstructed on one side parking, then it would be more accurate. They haven't asked for that. Would that have been acceptable? To keep conditions 2 and 3, but instead of having the warning being of small car, of obstruct one side. Just a thought.
Yeah. What I will say is it's the hard part is getting it all on one sign.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well,
just the amount of words that you have there.
Exactly.
I think so that's sort of where we're coming from, is from it's the signage. One part is the signage sort of question where, do we really need to call this out if these spaces are 100%, they are operational and they fit majority of the vehicles out there, and they're pretty much exactly the same as a regular space. You just have a column that's tucked to the back of the column there.
Okay.
So no difference.
So I agree in number 2, it would be impractical on 101 parking spots to have this big sign on all spots. They do say something, a legend may be used for clarity, but what about in item 3? I see that 2 may be problematic to have signs on all the advising, because they don't normally advise of, provided it is 2.6 minimum. But what about number 3? Surely you can comply with a notation on the site plan of not small car parking, but of obstruct one side. I'm just throwing that out as some giving.
Yeah. Yes, I think that would be agreeable to us.
Okay, so not have condition 2, but item 3 have the reference to obstruct one side. Okay, so I'll open it up to committee members. You have any questions, other questions for the applicant as in terms of trying to come to something that's workable and still meets transportation's requirements? And if not, I'm ready, be ready for a motion.
So just want to clarify, was there a statement here somewhere from transportation that potential purchasers be advised that these are small car parking?
It's just what's included in number 3, which just says that there's a notation, and that, so it's the last line here. Sorry, I'm just reading it over here. It says prospective residents of dwelling units shall be advised that the supply of small car parking spaces within the parking areas and other.
Where does it say that?
It's the last sentence of the number 3. Or the last 2 lines, I should say.
Yes, it would say it would be advised of the supply of obstruct one side parking spaces within the
Yeah,
parking
so just
area.
say that they're obstructed as opposed to calling them small car.
Yes.
It could have an impact because depending on where your door is opening, it could be hitting that pipe. And I think I think it would be prudent on the part of the owners to actually make that disclosure and not get, caught by a clever resident that could say, well, look, you guys asked for a exception to the bylaw and then you didn't disclose that to us. And you've sold us a substandard parking spot.
Mr. Komarek, I believe she was saying that they would be willing to have the reference in item 3, but not the small car, but the obstruct one side.
Okay, well then I think that's the way we should. Yeah, I'm okay with it going that way.
Because I guess the condition is it's not really a small car parking space, as she, an expert traffic consultant, so they obviously is a marketing issue. They don't want to have to say it's small car when it's not a small car.
As a former board member of the Toronto Parking Authority, I might actually agree with her, but I think what I'm trying to say is there should be some kind of notation to the fact that it's not a regular parking spot. There is a deficiency of some nature.
To the purchasers, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so
yeah,
item 3.
I think number 3 covers that.
Okay.
Okay, so someone ready to make a motion to that effect?
So is that a motion?
I'd be willing to support approval, subject to, so what we're doing, transportation condition 1, 4, and the amended version of 3.
Correct, to take out some small car to obstruct it on one side. Correct, Ms. Hardis?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Komarek, and I guess there is no other conditions. So take that as a motion. Do we have a seconder for Mr.
That was a very
Marks?
good suggestion, Mr. Chair, and I will be happy to second that.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Ms. Hardis. Thank you, Ms. Che. And thank you, members. And we're now adjourned for lunch until we return at 1 p.m. to do the afternoon sessions. Thank you.